In this video, we're going to take a look at how to run a one-factor ANOVA using Microsoft Excel on the PC. To do this, we are going to ask ourselves the question, is there a difference in plant height of our control plants over 3 weeks? So we're really interested in knowing whether our control plants, which are listed right here under 0, they stand for control, are differing in height from week 1 to week 2, from week 2 to week 3, and from week 1 to week 3. And to do this, we use an ANOVA, which is simply a test that's called the analysis of variance. And we're going to use a one factor, since the only thing we're considering here as an independent variable is time. So to do this, what you need to do is go up to the top to the Data tab and over to Data Analysis. Now, this requires that you have the Data Analysis Tool Pack installed on your computer, and if you don't, you won't see this. So make sure that you do that first, and then you're going to get a long list of statistical tests that Excel could do for you. We're going to choose ANOVA Single Factor and click OK, and you're going to get a pop-up box. Now here, in this input range, you're going to click on the pop-out, and you're going to highlight, including the titles, week 1, week 2, week 3, and all of the height data for the controls. Click the pop-out box. You're going to tell Excel that the data are grouped by columns. So you have column 1, column 2, and column 3 that correspond to your weeks. You're also going to tell it that you selected the labels, as you did, so you leave that checked, and alpha corresponds to your critical value for your p-value, and so we're going to leave that as 0.05. We're going to select an output range, so you're going to come down to this cell right here, click on the box, and I want my output to go right here, so I'm going to choose that, pop this back in, and hit OK. What I'm going to get out in the one-factor ANOVA, or as the Excel version calls it, a single factor, is a summary table and an ANOVA table. We're going to pay attention first to the summary table. Now, in the summary table, this is useful to make sure that you actually put in the correct data. You chose to look at 3 weeks, week 1, week 2, week 3, and they're all here. And they're counting how many values you have in each week. There are 4. If I go back up to my table here, I can verify that. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 for each of my values, and all of those data are captured here. They also calculate the sum and the average and the variance, but that's of less importance to you than the count. The table that's really of interest to you is going to be the ANOVA table. The ANOVA table is going to compare how much variance there is between groups versus how much variance there is within a group. So what does that mean? Well, it's going to compare how much difference there is between week 1 and week 2, week 1 and week 3, and week 2 and week 3, while taking into consideration how much variation there is just within week 1, just within week 2, or just within week 3. And when you compare those two together, you're going to get out a p-value. This p-value is what you're going to compare against the critical p-value that we typically use in the sciences of 0.05. And I'm going to let you make the decision about how to interpret that value based on the class notes, but this is the p-value that you will use to compare to your own p-value. Now, you just compared that solely for the control, so I suggest that you label it, and then you repeat it for the treatment. So let's go back to Data, Data Analysis, Single Factor, ANOVA, click OK. This time, clear out that input range, and this time we need the data that just correspond to the rows with the 1 condition. So click those. This time we don't have labels in the first row, so we need to unclick that, and we want to choose a new output range because we don't want it to overwrite our existing data. So I'm going to put it just to the right and hit OK. Oh, and it's going to overwrite it anyways. So for this example, I'm just going to say OK, but you could always go back in and change that. So now we have the treatment. And again, we can check the information. Note here, it just says columns because we don't have the titles in them like we did before. But we still have 4 pieces of data, so that's good. And here is that p-value that we are of interest. So you can do that for both of them, and that concludes